here changes the world. I have a few suggestions that may help you on your way to a better world. And while these lessons were learned during my time in the military, I can assure you that it matters not whether you ever served a day in uniform. It matters not your gender, your ethnic or religious background, your orientation, or your social status. Our struggles in this world are similar, and the lessons to overcome those struggles and to move forward, changing ourselves and changing the world around us, will apply equally to all. So here are the 10 lessons I learned from basic SEAL training that hopefully will be of value to you as you move forward in life. Every morning in SEAL training, my instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. It seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. During SEAL training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat, and 1 coxswain to help guide the dinghy. Every day, your boat crew forms up on the beach and is instructed to get through the surf zone and paddle several miles down the coast. In the winter, the surf off San Diego can get to be 8 to 10 feet high, and it is exceedingly difficult to paddle through the plunging surf unless everyone digs in. Every paddle must be synchronized to the stroke count of the coxswain. Everyone must exert equal effort, or the boat will turn against the wave and be unceremoniously dumped back on the beach. For the boat to make it to its destination, everyone must paddle. You can't change the world alone. You will need some help. And to truly get from your starting point to your destination takes friends, colleagues, the goodwill of strangers, and a strong coxswain to guide you. If you want to change the world, find someone to help you paddle. Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Terrorist Project podcast. We're at episode 144 of The Matrix Reloaded. Facts over feelings. This is something that we're going to be kind of going over quite a bit because we're looking at as we're coming towards this whole existential crisis, this looming disaster, so to speak, and what is actually going on and what we need to be doing and what people are saying about what's happening right now in the world. Yes, and if you see the links in the description, the CARES project, we've got more than just coffee cups. And we've got solutions, not just see you next week, right? So we're going to kind of get into that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. We're looking at what people are saying and what needs to be done as opposed to what people are doing. And so we're going to pull up a couple of, oh, geez. Oh, we're going to have to do this the old way. I have to set up the boxes again. All right, let me see. Do I have it here? Let me see if I can quickly do that here. Yeah. So, yeah. So, oh, jeez. Yeah. Yeah. Everything crashed on me today. Like, I mean, I had to start from scratch today. So it was just, yeah. Yeah. I didn't like it too much. Yeah. So it was gross. It was very, very, very gross. Um, so yeah, well, I guess we're gonna just have to do this the regular way. I'll just have to set it up later. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean it's there's a whole lot of other stuff that needs to be done. It's just it's a pain in the it's a pain in the hind parts when things freeze up and then you lose everything and then you have to start again from scratch. And then both of them, like I had two presets saved and they both like went, so both of them were gone. It was just one of those days. What? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can do that. But I mean, at the end of the day, we'll just have to get going right now with what we have rather than rather than I'll just do this here quickly. But I mean, say something and talk because I can't.
Guys, I don't know. I'm I'm a silly gal. I don't know. I've been kind of silly lately. I don't know. I can't explain it. But I'm kind of looking forward to talking about some of the things that we got going on here. Um, because I've made a new revelation today, and I feel like a new person in Christ. Like I feel like so much more whole as a person. I'm gonna get into it later as we get through some of the slides here, but it has become abundantly clear to me today. I was missing a piece of information. Can I bring this? Can you bring that closer? Actually,
Yeah,
I was missing a piece of information in all of the things that I know. You know, like when you're just like, oh, I gotta do something, I gotta write something. I've been like planning so many things in my head. You know, I'm a planner, I'm a thinker. Do a lot of like judging of like how situations should be or whatever with my information. But then I'm like, oh, I'm missing a piece of information. So I'm like, I can't do it yet because then I can't collaborate everything the way it needs to go and stack them properly, put them in the right place. Because if you're missing a piece of information here, it affects all the levels, right? Can't have that. So I discovered the last piece of information. I think to hold the majority of what I have learned cumulatively across the board to seal it all in place in my brain. And I feel very free inside. I don't know how to explain it. Pretty much, it has become abundantly clear to me that men are the only ones that can lead society especially when it comes down to serious things. Because men are the only ones that can create circumstances to actually show you in real time, to put you in the environment, to force you to see things and ask the right questions, to force you to come to the conclusions you need to understand God. Like, I used to say all the time, like, oh, like, I have faith. And I used to tell you guys all the time, like, on my personal streams, that I have a lot of faith, but I don't have hope. Like, I don't think I have hope, or I don't understand. But I am now, and I would you guys see me online sometimes. I'm like, God has favorites, and I'm not one of them. Um, because it's very hard for women to see, especially, or men in general, like anyone to see, but especially women to see the promises of God and to have hope in those. Like, faith is like the feeling of, like, I understand this, and then hope is like having joy in the actualization of that thing. So it's like, it's become abundantly clear to me that men have to be the leaders, because without men being the leaders and showing you through experience why this actually happens, like, the man puts you in a situation despite silence, despite actually interacting with you in person, or whatever the case may be, whatever environment you're in, he puts you in the circumstance where you will trust in the promises. And
Yes.
that's how we learn to love God and to
Now,
trust God.
now we're set up. We have to remember that faith has to act outside of feeling. And this
Yes,
is
well,
why it is more difficult for women to do this, and why they need to follow men, because I don't act out of feeling at all. Like, feeling, so what? Right? Like, something needs to get done. It doesn't matter how I feel, I just get it done. Women are not the same way. They're
yeah, but
not.
that's seeing an experience.
What?
But that's seeing an experience.
Yes, but when I understand the way that I am, and I know that if I say something, I'm going to give a consequence, God certainly will.
Oh yeah, you're a man. That's what I'm saying. For women specifically, like, they need that example, or else they're not going to understand. This is
Is
why why men, when they're Christians and they're single parents, the kids stay in
yes,
Christianity, and when mothers are single parents
yes,
and they are Christians, the kids never stay, because the
yes.
mom doesn't know how to teach the
No,
kids
no,
how to trust in the promise of God through
no. They don't.
experience,
They don't.
regardless of silence,
Yes,
speaking, assurance, nothing. Like,
that's why God created the man first, because
yeah,
he demonstrates what God does on a very much smaller scale.
this is also why you cannot shame women into submission, because unless women actually see through experience with a man, it'll never make sense. She'll never change. So,
It,
anyways, well, it'll come full circle, but yeah, you get
we'll
it.
get into the clips, because we're going to start out with Steve Bannon. He said this like 6 months ago. So take a listen to what he says.
With the advances in artificial intelligence that are coming this year and next year, not some Buck Rogers in 10 years. I'm talking about the next 18 months. You're going to see the entry level or first couple of years jobs of managerial, administrative, and tech coding that are all going to be wiped out.
AI is going to wipe out a lot of people's jobs. Straight up. Straight up. And a lot of things that don't take skills, like all of these talking head influencers, it's not hard to put an AI clone to do your job.
Oh, huge companies are already doing it. Instead of hiring models, they're just making AI people to model their clothing for them 24/7 for free.
You know who's going to lose the most?
Women.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true, because
Women
women do
are
not, they don't calculate risk and adapt as well either.
women are about to turn back to factory settings on mass or suffer. Like, they really only have two choices, because that's going to be the only real job that they're going to be capable of doing until the robots come out, and then the men choose the robots because the women have stank attitudes. So it's like, unless women choose to turn back to being real women, biblical, virtuous Proverbs 31 women, they're just, there's no other.
Now I'm going to listen to General Flynn. I mean, this is a guy, I like this guy. A lot of people said I shouldn't talk to the guy and stay away from him, but the guy's a general for a reason and so forth. And Obama hates him for a reason because he wanted to go in and he wanted to audit the defense contractors when he was the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And then they went crazy on him, which if you start auditing them, then you're going to find a lot of the problems that you're seeing now, but it's happening in the DOD's got their hands involved. So let's hear what he has to say.
Federalist Paper 2 and 3, and we wrote about this recently. John Jay, who was one of the authors of that, talked about the greatest threat to our country is never going to be a foreign foe. It's always going to be somebody. It's always going to be a subversion within, right? From within. So many people have warned us about that. Abraham Lincoln was another one. When he was 28 years old, talking about, no foreign foe will ever take a drink from the Ohio or a step on the Blue Ridge. Never. Even with a Bonaparte for a commander. If we're going to die by our own suicide. He said that at the age of 28 years old. So many people that were prescient and visionaries and historic figures that were worldly and thought about these things, and also were men or women of action, would always talk about this kind of behavior and potential and possibility, and here we are. We are now in a place where this is it. This is a moment of existentialism for the United States of America, and I think that people are going to have to come to grips with it. It's not that everybody's got to get behind Donald J. Trump. It's people need to get behind this idea that we need to continue to be a constitutional republic based on ideas and based on the rights of citizens, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because all three of those things can.
Yeah. I said the same thing. Yep. Same thing. That the greatest threat comes from within. Yeah. Not from without. When you look at the people that you're just looking at enemies and they look very easy to spot, that is not where the greatest threat was. Jesus, who betrayed him? Judas, who was a Jew, one of the 12. Right? Look at Caesar, who assassinated him. Brutus and the close buddies, because nobody else was going to get that close to Caesar to kill him. Right? So all these people that are running around talking about all these things outside of this, they're barking up the wrong tree. Right? Let's flip the script and do a couple of things from Canada. People like to think this is such a nice place to go and that it's, oh no, it's a safe country.
Like, as if you're gonna do things for aesthetic. If that's the case, go live in Venezuela.
Stop remembering watching movies like Canadian Bacon. Right? Let's look at this.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Yuan Pao Wu. I am the founder and a member of the board of directors of Canadians United Against Modern Exclusion, CUAME. With me is former Senator Victor O, who is also a founding director of this organization. Together with our two other founding directors, James Ho and David Tam, we are pleased to announce today the launch of this new organization, Canadians United Against Modern Exclusion, which is a non-partisan, not-for-profit organization registered under the Canada Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. The goal of CUAME is to defend Canadians whose rights and freedoms have been compromised because of false or exaggerated claims of foreign interference, national security overreach, and fear of the other. This is a particular problem today and in recent years because of the heightened geopolitical conflict and the rise of populist nationalism. There has been a turn in many countries, including in Canada, to punish their citizens for not conforming to a rigid idea of the national interest, or simply for having benign ties with foreign entities.
So basically, he's got a not-for-profit to protect people who've been tied to the CCP. And announcing this like this is great, and he's got the support of a minister in Canada. Are you kidding me? Right?
Oh, that's crazy.
And this is what's happening above in the northern border, but it gets worse.
Of course it does.
It gets worse. Let's listen.
Canada.
Yes.
Canada.
Let's listen to Kash Patel here. He's people dog him all the time, but he says something pretty spot on right here, and we really need to start paying attention. People are all mad about the Epstein. Epstein is one group of people.
Yeah, an entire country, Canada, is
But
way.
yeah, but I mean, there's so many other fires other than Epstein.
Yeah, there's so many more.
So let's look at this.
Our northern border. It's largely expansive. The enemy has adapted, and we need more focus on the northern border to stop known or suspected terrorists from coming in from places like China, Russia, the Middle East, Africa, Afghanistan.
And what can you tell us about the remaining threat posed by potential terrorist cells here in the United States?
The terrorist threat that continues to be posed by international terrorists here in the United States is one of my highest priorities. We are working through our intelligence community partners to identify those individuals, and we've taken down numerous individuals in numerous rings across this country to neutralize that terrorist threat, including in places like New York City, Los Angeles, and I believe Dallas, Texas most recently.
How extensively did criminal cartels like Sinaloa, Jalisco, New Generation, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and others infiltrate?
They identified that Canada is their biggest threat for the drug trade.
More than Mexico.
Yes,
they said they switched the tactics.
Because all of the cartels are now shifting their operations. They just busted, like this last week, the biggest fentanyl operation, a super lab with $500 million.
BC?
In BC. Just this $500 million worth of fentanyl.
That
and
could
the
kill literally probably everybody in America. Didn't they say that such a small amount of fentanyl could kill like one person?
Let's put it this way. Canada probably puts out on their GDP like $3 trillion a year.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, you're looking at like a good more than 20%.
$500
About
billion.
close to 20% of a country's GDP is sitting in drugs in a province, in a super lab, and that's not. I guarantee you, that's not the only one. 100% guarantee you that is not the only one. They're moving more drugs through Canada than the entire output of this country. Right?
Literally. $500 million is insanity.
$500 billion. So $500 billion. Sorry.
$500 billion is
$500 billion. Sorry, $500 million worth
of just fentanyl.
Yes,
And
sorry.
that's insanity.
$500 million of fentanyl sitting in one place. We're gonna actually listen to get the correct numbers because Sam Cooper reports that. So we're gonna let's take our break and we'll pull it up after the break. But the amount of money that they're doing is astronomical. Absolutely astronomical. So yes, we'll be right back.
Hello friends, my name is Keisha and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. And I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Saskatchewan, moved into Alberta, and even crossed into the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems over the last 5 years that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father Dale Richardson, we started the Caris Project. This is an Indigenous, survivor-led movement for humanity dedicated to exposing trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. One of the most powerful tools that we are using is the petitions for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in Canadian and U.S. law, and in treaties that tie us together across provinces, across states, and even across borders. These petitions are precedent-setting. They create a binding record. They demand accountability while representing reconciliation in action. Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working side by side to preserve liberty for all. But we cannot do this alone. We need your help to keep this movement alive, to raise awareness and to build a legacy of justice for Indigenous women, for trafficking survivors, and for families everywhere. Thank you. Please stand with us. Your support makes this work possible. Together we can restore justice, heal families, and defend freedom. And I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
So yeah, we're asking if anybody wants to support the fight against human trafficking. You saw the links, or if you want to do the MyPillow products, you go to mypillow.com/Caris or call 800-845-2942. They got lots of good stuff. Again, we have some of the merchandise and the links. And please support so that we can continue to bring this good content, because, I mean, we do everything from start to finish, including the production. So, I mean, that's more than what most people do. Just sit in there and have somebody do the show for them. We do everything from beginning to end, plus our own research and all that other stuff, and the stuff we do on the back end, where we help actual survivors of the trafficking, people who have their kids stolen, and all of these types of things that a lot of people don't ever hear about, because a lot of the things we simply just can't tell people for the protection of the people and their children. But that's kind of what we do. We're just not the average people that just come in and start talking. We actually know, have our ear to the ground and boots on the ground in many cases.
Yeah, we have real life experience in like all these situations. We're in person getting the information from being in the situations. Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have to talk a little louder. You're a little
We
quiet.
were like in real life in the experiences of these things. Like we were in person gathering information. So it's not like we're just, getting things from, some people would just say like what they feel about certain things with talking points. Like we actually went out, did the research, gathered the information personally, if you know what I mean. Like put ourselves in the situation to get the real uh evidence and information. But anyway,
And I mean, when you have people trying to take you out, can speak from firsthand experience on that,
yeah, exactly.
right? People want to act like that don't happen, but I mean, when your first response is to grab somebody, strap them in bed, and drug them beneath their will, and potentially kill them, and just wipe them out, that tells you that they didn't try to do anything subtly. They went straight for the jugular, like, no pun intended, because I mean, a lot of those situations, people won't make out of those things alive. They don't.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go and listen to Sam Cooper talk about the issue in Canada.
The U.S. Treasury has come out with major data point studies pointing to $312 billion in Chinese network money laundering in 4 years in that country. Canada, of course, a smaller country, but proportionately for the Chinese underground banking networks, which handle all the money laundering for the Mexican cartels, that's happening in Vancouver and Toronto at scale. I estimated strongly through industry sources and various, a FinTrack study, should be over $1 trillion money laundering in the past decade, Vancouver and Toronto. So to your point about the top 10 industry, yeah, I think money laundering may be a top 5. We talked about how Mexico, world cartel money, Iranian underground banking, Hamas, Hezbollah, they're all mixed in. The Sri Lankan community, which has some interesting things going on in real estate in Toronto that I haven't even got to. And yeah, we're getting hit with the world's underground money, and it's a huge industry.
What's happening with the Sri Lankans and the real estate in Toronto?
I won't name the person, but there was a person very concerned with figures of corruption from his government. He said that he followed my work on Chinese corruption and money laundering and said, you need to go down to Bluffers Park in Scarborough, or there's certain streets where X official, Y official. We talk about our public safety minister and how he may be involved in questionable activities with offshore networks. Yeah, maybe there's something to look into there. I haven't got into it yet, but I think that's just another community that has a lot of influence and may be also, from my network diagramming, I noticed that our public safety minister was quite close to the Chinese community networks as well. The crimes that you're seeing, if you're an Ontario resident, not feeling safe in your home anymore, this is not the Canada you're used to. Why did it happen? And I'm saying that absolute flood of transnational crime, the explosion of different gangs that you guys have outlined, the flow, just the incredible. People don't understand the flow of drugs coming in almost exclusively through Indo-Canadian owned trucks and how they're working with the cartels, the Chinese Communist Party, funding the precursors. This is helping drugs move around the world. They're using Canada, but that's exploding on our streets in the crime and violence, I believe. So that disorder you're seeing, there's an attack factor. The U.S. government believes that, Venezuela, Iran, the Chinese Communist Party wants to see that destabilization. And I think my reporting has shown solidly that's the reality, in addition to just the economic factors and the social factors of being flooded with drugs and violent people. The Canada you grew up with, Pierre Trudeau's Canada, I once believed in the ringing ideals, the melting pot or the tossed salad. And I'm just saying something has gone off the rails. If you're a Canadian, recognize that a war somewhere abroad is going to mean, in our reality, our modern reality, that there are going to be people in Canada interested in the results. They will be working on you as a Canadian, and crime is part of that. I love the Charter of Rights in many ways, but we're not living in Pierre Trudeau's utopian vision anymore. This isn't just about a castle law or people wanting to have a weapon inside their home. Up top, the worst and most dangerous crime networks in the world are taking advantage of our weak laws, to put it simply. At the end of the day, everyone, they only want, their family to be safe and have a good job and some semblance that you're, secure and going in the right direction. And that's off the rails. Anyone at this point that is saying, it's not the Wild West, okay, Justice Minister, yeah, it's feeling like it, and I say it is.
Yeah. So Canada is run by cartels, and China is the one who's laundering their money. Like you said, $1 trillion. $1 trillion over the last 10 years that they know of. Right? I used to live in Vancouver. I knew that they were laundering money like crazy. This is one of the reasons, and real estate is one of the biggest ways that they laundered money. This is why Canada, the housing market in Vancouver and Toronto and other places are through the roof, is because of money laundering. It is out of control, and it's not that they have weak laws. They're just not enforcing them. They're creating loopholes for people to come in there, but they're not going after them. They cut back the RCMP from their money laundering units that look after that. So you keep cutting back for the stuff for organized crime, and they're going after people making mean tweets.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you sit down and you think about how much cartel country is there, and how much China has got their control in here. And like he said, they're using the Indians, so they're bringing in gangsters and criminals to run in their organization, not the law-abiding ones that are coming from over. They're bringing over criminals that will do whatever they want and just bring in their drugs. This is part of the reason why you're seeing this. And then you're going to tell me that I'm going to be safe after I outed people for treason and whistleblew that goes directly back to the CCP, right? This is how you get people executed, right? A lot of people are running it down and saying all this kind of stuff and getting people to just cut you off. That's how you get people killed. When people like that, when cartels run this country and you have the CCP, the Chinese behind that, and you expose the virus that came from China and Wuhan, and that they had that showed how they were mass distributing it, those are things that get you killed. Right? This is not a game. This is not about feelings. I understood when I first came forward with this that this could cost me my life. But I'm getting more people helping people to get me killed and my family killed for standing up for doing what's right. We're going to look at some of the things here, and I'm going to bring something up here because we're going to listen to Mr. Nick Fuentes talking about his justification why people should be racist to black people, right? This is like getting, and these types of things, they're resulting is, in my case, millions of people dead. Millions of people dead. It was caught and brought out right at the drop where they should have just stopped everything, because engineering controls is the beginning. The reason why the right's getting slaughtered, they're not listening to people. They're not listening to guys like Flynn. They're not listening to like the people who know what they're doing. They're listening to a bunch of the talking heads that are sitting in front of their influencers and the men and the women that are just leading people in a wrong direction and turning them around in circles rather than getting them where they need to go, right? And so we're going to listen to what he has to say.
The reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them. Every bit justified. And you want to know why? Because we see what happens. And nobody is under any obligation due to liberal ideology to put themselves in harm's way. If you're a white person and you're going to work or going to the ball game or going to the city at night, you don't want to enter into the terror dome where you're suddenly in a sudden death match. You're like in the gulag in Call of Duty fighting for your life all of a sudden because you got on the wrong train car. Because a car full of black people pulled up on you by the bus stop. You turn and you walk the other way. You avoid their neighborhoods. You avoid going out on Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend at night in certain places. When you see them, you start walking in the other direction. And we are every bit justified because we see what's going on and we don't want to die. It's that simple. That's pattern recognition. That's not racism. That's pattern recognition. That's one. And two, I really hope, because I'm rooting for black people, like I'm rooting for humanity. I'm rooting for everybody to be safe and to be healthy and to be happy. I really hope that somewhere out there, although I'm not optimistic, black people are starting to develop some sense of self-awareness. Where's the shame? Aren't you people ashamed? When I see these clips of the graduation ceremonies where they're twerking on stage and dancing, when I see these videos of the black cheerleaders on the basketball court brawling it out, when I see the Carmelo Anthony, and not only that, but then they raise $500,000 for him and then they get a public defender. When I see that video of a black security guard rifling through the pockets of an unconscious white guy that got his ass kicked, And the list goes on and on and on. You have to ask the black people that are normally so proud, and with the chip on their shoulder, aren't you ashamed? Are you not ashamed when you see these things? Are there any black people that see this and have the slightest lick of self-awareness, of common sense, of decency to say, are you not ashamed to see these scenes play out over and over again? Where's the accountability? And this is where that word fatigue comes in. We're just tired of seeing it. You see these clips and you know every race of person, maybe except for most blacks, white, Chinese, Indian, Hispanic, and even liberals see these clips and they say, are you surprised? They shake their heads. They say, yep. Usual suspects. They say, yep, that's about right. Are you not ashamed? And when are black people going to turn that around? I'm so sick of, and I think all of society is sick of, hearing about all these excuses. And even the conservative blacks will give them, like Jason Whitlock is a perfect example. When I gave a similar monologue about Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, Jason Whitlock, who's a black conservative at the Blaze, said that this is a demonic sentiment. He said the problem is a lack of Christianity or something or other. The problem is a lack of accountability. And I think a lot of black people hide behind these various things, whether it's the liberals that say it's slavery and racism, or it's the conservatives, and they blame it on welfare, hip hop, or the Great Society. It starts with you. It starts with every individual black person making choices, like we all do. Who's raising these people? Who's raising these people? It's other black people. It's baby mamas and baby daddies. I mean, who's perpetuating this? And who does it benefit to make these excuses and to say it's everybody else? So I see this stuff and look, yeah, we are going to call it out. We, the Americans, we the white people of America, we the peaceful, law-abiding, tax-paying people of America are saying, hey, blacks, get your together. Get your together. We are tired of you. We are tired of seeing this stuff. It always seems to be you.
That was painful to listen to.
I have a headache.
Yes.
Actually have a headache.
He's lying. He's lying. Straight out lying. He's not addressing the issue. This is the problem when you have men that do this. He is not a fool. He's reasonably intelligent. So he saying this is absolutely absurd. He's a man. He understands circumstances. He also understands that there are things and factors in play that make things a certain way. I grew up being around mostly white people. I had a lot of good friends, but I also dealt with a lot of people who were D-bags. And I could sit down and say I have white fatigue all my life because I've been dealing with this from when I was a kid. Grown people throwing stuff through our window and telling me as a 3-year-old kid, go back to Africa and all this kind of stuff. I didn't do anything to that person.
And you're not even African. You're Canadian.
Exactly.
You're Canadian.
Then when I was outperforming everybody in school, I had the social worker and the principal falsify my test scores to try to gaslight me and so forth and say that, oh, black kids don't learn well as fast as white kids. But when they got retested by the Asian guy, the guy was like, it's impossible. They lied. The standard deviation of this test is it's not possible.
And then you're
the guy cursed when he saw what my IQ was. They retested me multiple times and it was off the charts.
And he was taking university classes at 8 years of age.
I got more pushback through my life from being an intelligent black man than I ever did from people who were being criminals. I didn't get as much pushback when I was a drug addict. But when I was succeeding and outperforming them, so when I got older, I had to act like I wasn't as intelligent so that I would get... So, seriously.
No, I get it because I do the same thing.
Because before COVID, if I did that, they would have killed me. Straight up. They wouldn't have tried to strap me to a bed. They would have instantly tried to kill me right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody like, oh, Oh, IQ. I promise you, my dad is
IQ
higher
don't mean
IQ
nothing.
than all
IQ
of
is
you.
piss poor. And even though when I was a kid, my IQ was off the chart, it's a piss poor way of actually determining intelligence. It tells you how well you can do scholastic things, but how well you can tell somebody's intelligence is how well they master things.
Yes.
I pick up anything and I master it in a very short period of time. And I'm like I'm 51 years old and just destroying younger people. And I'm under way amounts of duress. I get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night if I'm lucky, constantly sleep deprived. Imagine what I would do if I was actually getting some kind of rest.
And health being destroyed.
And then not to mention they were torturing both of my children and having my youngest daughter put by pedophiles who were done by a whole bunch of white people. And white people were running around making sure that my child stays around where she can get raped. Right? And my oldest daughter got put through places where she was raped and all of these things. I'm not acting like these guys. So what is it? Right? Like, this is nonsense. You know what the difference is? It's called having Jesus in your heart. That's the difference. Because when you don't have Jesus, you act a certain way. Right? Because you're going to hate everybody around you. And this is the whole fact of the matter. There's a war going on. Right? Try that stunt in the middle of a war zone and see if you don't get yourself killed. If you want to start acting that way and kill your platoon or your regiment by doing something stupid to give away your position and get everybody killed, they'll probably shoot you in the field and say that you were a casualty. Right? Go ahead. Like, this is how you lose wars. And when I watch people doing this, actually, since we're here, I'll just I'll bring up this clip and let the Admiral talk about it himself. Just so that I can sit down and hear what a man tells you who is a Navy SEAL that went ahead and talked about this. So you're going to listen to this guy who's got a whole lot of experience because he's an admiral, and you listen to what he says about judging people by anything other than their character.
Over a few weeks of difficult training, my SEAL class, which started with 150 men, was down to just 42. There were now 6 boat crews of 7 men each. I was in the boat with the tall guys, but the best boat crew we had was made up of the little guys, the Munchkin crew, we called them. No one was over 5'5". The Munchkin boat crew had 1 American Indian, 1 African American, 1 Polish American, 1 Greek American, 1 Italian American, and 2 tough kids from the Midwest. They out-paddled, outran, and outswam all the other boat crews. The big men in the other boat crews would always make good-natured fun of the tiny little flippers the Munchkins put on their tiny little feet prior to every swim. But somehow these little guys from every corner of the nation and the world always had the last laugh, swimming faster than everyone and reaching the shore long before the rest of us. SEAL training was a great equalizer. Nothing mattered but your will to succeed, not your color, not your ethnic background, not your education, not your social status. If you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart, not by the size of their flippers.
There you go. Now I can hear myself. I like talking to myself. Who are you going to trust? The man who's gone to war, the man who's went and became a Navy SEAL and been through life and death situations, or are you going to trust some smooth-handed influencer that is sitting there and complaining like a woman without being looking at circumstances or providing solutions? He doesn't know what to do. He straight up doesn't, because if he did, he would be showing people how to do it. That's straight up. He's young and he's completely inexperienced, and it shows it. And he won't listen to other people who are trying to give him instructions, so he's going to learn the hard way, right? I mean, if he grew up in my generation, somebody would have straightened him out. Not me, because I'm not that kind of person. I'll let you get the consequences of your actions, I'll tell you like it is, and then when you get it, you'll be like, oh, well, that happened. Well, too bad. I told you. Now maybe next time you're going to listen, because there's a lot more people that are far less reasonable than me. And all these people that are showing fatigue that haven't even gone through a tenth of what I've gone through, like I've been stabbed, beaten by an inch of my life. I've gotten so much flack because people chose to lie or put people in positions. And this was long before COVID. This was the story of my life. You know how many times I had white people just straight up lie? Right? It didn't matter. I don't hate white people. I hate people, or I hate the actions of people that choose to do wrong. It doesn't matter if you're white, because I had black people that did me wrong. I had people of every race do me wrong. Right? And I don't sit down and say that, oh, well, no. You know what the situation is? Life sucks. Nobody says life is going to be fair. You got to deal with it. And how are you going to deal with the situation with what you live in instead of complaining about it and not making any solutions? If you know this is the world you live in, how are you going to navigate it? How are you going to mitigate risk? You are a man. Start acting like it. I am sick and tired of watching all of these men going out and acting like women. You guys might as well cut off your testicles and put on a set of breasts, because a lot of these guys that are transgender are still more masculine than you because they admit what they are. Right? Some of you guys are acting like you're something that you're not. And this is really where we're at. People would rather so much want to believe nonsense that's in their head. They talk about pattern recognition. Well, how about the pattern? Who killed more people in the last 5 years than anybody else on planet Earth? The government and the globalists. The government that allowed the globalists to do this filth in their countries. So who killed more people in the United States than the government? The black people, doesn't matter all the crimes they committed, it doesn't equal what the government did. The trillions of dollars of devastation, the millions of lives lost, but you can't seem to recognize that pattern.
And affected. We don't know how much are still going to die.
Exactly.
The millions that are injured from being forced into vaccine injury, the amount of children that have been stripped from their families. Families have been forced into different countries because of all the evil that happened. It's completely devastated. Millionaires who have lost everything. Like in Canada, we had some people who were millionaires tell us they went through the same thing as us. Bank account stripped, every dollar stripped from their account, house seized, everything gone.
This has happened. This is just so insidious that and when you become blind from racism because it blinds you, you will start applying this nonsense to people of your own race.
Yeah.
You'll apply to anybody because you've ingrained yourself into that warped thinking, and you will see something standing in front of your face and you will do mental gymnastics to make it fit with what you believe, because that will make you feel better.
Yeah.
A man that wants to go and do this is lazy, he is unfit, and he cannot protect his community because he cannot discern actions. He just looks at the color of skin or something like that, and he assesses threat like a woman.
Yeah, this is why women cannot lead. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Only a man can teach you how to discern these things and put you in the circumstances or the environment and give you the tools along the way, knowing who you are, your strengths and weaknesses, put you in the environment so that you can come to the conclusion necessary to understand how these things work. I can't fully explain it because obviously I'm not a man, but like I understand by experience from men, like me experiencing. You get me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we're running up here on time, so we're gonna close here with a prayer. But I'm saying it's not any knock against women. Men are the protectors in society. If that was not the case, women would not be victimized like the way they are with men. They're not. So men have to do their jobs, right? Women has a job, and it's not the protectors of society. That's the man's job. Because if you guys were protectors of society, you wouldn't need our help. So anyway, let me close here with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you've given us this day. Open our hearts and minds, and Lord, help the men that we would humble ourselves and come before God. Because, Lord, we have a lot of work to do, and Lord, there is not enough workers, so I'm asking you this day to multiply the efforts that more men would come forward and stand up and turn to you and turn away from their wickedness and their cowardice, and that they would go forward in faith, trusting you. Lord, I ask of you this day that we be able to work together with the women to rebuild our families, our churches, our community, our nation, that we can have some protection for the children. Is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah, thanks, Dad, for the prayer. As always, a wise man once said you need to know when to shut your mouth. So I'm gonna shut my mouth, and I'm gonna say that I will leave the talking to the men for that. My dad said we had to say, and I will. So you guys stay tuned for part 2. We'll catch you on the other side in a couple of minutes. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend.
Several times a week, the instructors would line up the class and do a uniform inspection. It was exceptionally thorough. Your hat had to be perfectly starched, your uniform immaculately pressed, your belt buckle shiny and void of any smudges. But it seemed that no matter how much effort you put into starching your hat or pressing your uniform or polishing your belt buckle, it just wasn't good enough. The instructors would find something wrong. For failing the uniform inspection, the student had to run, fully clothed, into the surf zone, then wet from head to toe, roll around on the beach until every part of your body was covered with sand. The effect was known as a sugar cookie. You stayed in the uniform the rest of the day, cold, wet, and sandy. There were many a student who just couldn't accept the fact that all their efforts were in vain, that no matter how hard they tried to get the uniform right, it went unappreciated. Those students didn't make it through training. Those students didn't understand the purpose of the drill. You were never going to succeed. You were never going to have a perfect uniform. The instructors weren't going to allow it. Sometimes, no matter how well you prepare or how well you perform, you still end up as a sugar cookie. It's just the way life is sometimes. If you want to change the world, get over being a sugar cookie and keep moving forward. Every day during training, you were challenged with multiple physical events: long runs, long swims, obstacle courses, hours of calisthenics, something designed to test your mettle. Every event had standards, times you had to meet. If you failed to meet those times, those standards, your name was posted on a list, and at the end of the day, those on the list were invited to a circus. A circus was 2 hours of additional calisthenics designed to wear you down, to break your spirit, to force you to quit. No one wanted a circus. A circus meant that for that day, you didn't measure up. A circus meant more fatigue, and more fatigue meant that the following day would be more difficult and more circuses were likely. But at some time during SEAL training, everyone made the circus list. But an interesting thing happened to those who were constantly on the list. Over time, those students who did 2 hours of extra calisthenics got stronger and stronger. The pain of the circuses built inner strength and physical resiliency. Life is filled with circuses. You will fail. You will likely fail often. It will be painful. It will be discouraging. At times, it will test you to your very core. But if you want to change the world, don't be afraid of the circuses. At least twice a week, the trainees were required to run the obstacle course. The obstacle course contained 25 obstacles, including a 10-foot wall, a 30-foot cargo net, a barbed wire crawl, to name a few. But the most challenging obstacle was the slide for life. It had a 3-level, 30-foot tower at one end and a 1-level tower at the other. In between was a 200-foot long rope. You had to climb the 3-tiered tower, and once at the top, you grabbed the rope, swung underneath the rope, and pulled yourself hand over hand until you got to the other end. The record for the obstacle course had stood for years when my class began in 1977. The record seemed unbeatable until one day a student decided to go down the slide for life head first. Instead of swinging his body underneath the rope and inching his way down, he bravely mounted the top of the rope and thrust himself forward. It was a dangerous move, seemingly foolish and fraught with risk. Failure could mean injury and being dropped from the course. Without hesitation, the student slid down the rope perilously fast. Instead of several minutes, it only took him half that time. And by the end of the course, he had broken the record. If you want to change the world, sometimes you have to slide down the obstacles head first. During the land warfare phase of training, the students are flown out to San Clemente Island, which lies off the coast of San Diego. The waters off San Clemente are a breeding ground for the great white sharks. To pass SEAL training, there are a series of long swims that must be completed. One is the night swim. Before the swim, the instructors joyfully brief the students on all the species of sharks that inhabit the waters off San Clemente. They assure you, however, that no student has ever been eaten by a shark, at least not that they can remember. But you are also taught that if a shark begins to circle your position, stand your ground. Do not swim away. Do not act afraid. And if the shark, hungry for a midnight snack, darts towards you, then summons up all your strength and punch him in the snout, and he will turn and swim away. There are a lot of sharks in the world. If you hope to complete the swim, you will have to deal with them. So if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks.
Hilarious.
Yes. And this I can identify. This is being like
Wait, we have to say hello.
Oh, yes.
Starting a new
Yes, hello everybody. We're back. For you guys who didn't who were be watching the next day in 2 different parts, but we were talking about some a lot of stuff about what's going on. But yes, he talked about swimming with the sharks. If you watch the intro, because you can't be afraid of the bullies. Right? This is why.
Yeah, tell him punch the shark in the nose.
But yes, this is why sometimes you have to go at them, or you're gonna die. If you turn your back to a shark, it's over.
But they sent them to swim in shark-infested waters. They said no one has ever died that they can remember. If you come across a shark, don't turn your back to it. Make sure you face it and punch it in the snout as hard as you can. Mind you, this is underwater, so you're already cooked with force.
Well, you
but
can't.
You have to try.
You're never gonna swim faster than a shark.
No, but the savagery of that, and then you have to do it in the night as well.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. got some pansies out here for real, man. People complaining, oh, my feelings.
Yes, and this is what
Hurt
this is
words.
what people are dealing with and going through, while people are crying about, oh, this might hurt my feelings. Oh, they said this. Oh, they said that. Right? And so we're gonna bring up another clip here, and we're gonna listen to an associate of Nick Fuentes, Lily Gaddis. She was on the show, and I mean, smart girl, but I mean, she's doing some really dumb things, and we're gonna listen to what she has to say.
We go to when we want to worship, okay? If you want to come and make
You're
a clown
worshiping
out of
Larry
it, do it in
Krasner?
your-
This is what happens when you give blacks a little power. Ooh, it's like when women run for politics and get into a position of a lot of power, have a lot of money. They become tyrants. They don't know what to do with it because they were not designed to have that power. When you give farm equipment a lot of power, what happens? Now, we're talking about tractors right here, okay? So don't even get any fucking racist thoughts in your head. Similarly, when you give other demographics in the United States of America or anywhere around the country, like in South Africa, for example, a little bit of power, they become tyrants with it because they're not used to that. White people have created amazing societies, countries, beautiful architecture, art, design, literature, music. Basically anything. Anything, by the way, that black people claim that they invented? No, you didn't. Where's the innovation in Africa? Where's Wakanda? We're waiting. We're waiting for Wakanda, and we're still not getting it.
That's actually hilarious. Where are the civilizations that women built? Right? You're the last person to be talking, because women are the biggest recipients of DEI. Right? Like, I mean, what society was built and maintained by women?
Yo, what's funny about this? It's like women watch white men do things, or men in general, and take the credit while doing none of the work.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like acting like black people don't make contributions to society. This is the mentality of what people will do. And the most tyrannical people to put in power are women. Go read your Bible.
Yeah,
what happened when Jezebel usurped power?
Wait a second. Thomas Edison, did he not carry a black man with him everywhere he went?
Yes, he did.
And
And that
he
man
loved
was
that
brilliant.
black man. He helped him make all of his inventions, and
Yes.
he talks about this. So, what white men did everything. There's a lot of white men in history who had black men help them with things, and they admit of their own volition, but everybody ignores that for some reason because
Yes.
they don't
And
want to
want-
give any credit.
They want to act like, well, it's the white people that help them, that they can only do these things because they help them up into these positions, but they're too stupid because they're low IQ.
Yeah.
But somehow the white man's magic makes their brains expand. Right? Like the white man must be God in order to grant them more intelligence when they're around them. Somehow reading a book and learning that book, because a white man taught them, makes their brains flourish.
But you know what? A white man can't even say what she just said.
No, you
A
can't.
white man would not be able to sit in front of a black man's face and say what she just said.
No, he would
Because
be on
he-
the floor. Nobody would say that in front. A lot of
has
those
to-
things that people are saying, they're saying there's a certain
But-
level of boldness because of the internet.
But she's also implying that white women are above men of any stature,
Yes.
any race, and saying that her intelligence and her capability as a white woman is above any person of any man of color, which is not true, because a man is a man, and the Bible says that men have authority over women. So this is actually the mentality that gets women into power. This is mentality that gets Jezebels into power
Yes,
to do what they're going to
because
do.
you know who one of the biggest proponents of this eugenicist movement and this racist movement are feminists.
Feminists, yeah.
Guess who benefits the most? Because of the racism that they're going to indoctrinate their children with, and then they're going to get the men to cuck to the racism. It gets them to put women into positions where men should be, and then you see this disastrous result. And then the women always from the whole time, if you go back and read about first wave feminism, they looked at the white man as the obstacle to their power. So they've been duping you the whole time by getting you to be a slave to the vagina so that they could work their magic on you and then get what they want. But then you're weak. And when the country's getting overrun, you're going to sit there and complain and not know what to do.
It's like, would you rather 100 men that are mixed with white men, black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, Native, whatever, to fight off a bunch of people that are coming to kill you and your families? Or would you rather an army of white women with white men, with less white men, but more white women, fighting beside the white men to defend their families and country? Like, when things
I'll take
really,
the men. I'll take the mixed group of men any day.
well, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, any man in their right mind knows that a man thinks like a man regardless, and those women are going to be useless to them, because as soon as things hit the fan, women return to factory settings no matter what they say. They can't handle it.
Like the army is supposed to be black people. Take out all the black people, replace them all with women, and see what happens in the military. Go ahead. They're so much better. Replace the black men, get them all out, replace them all with white women, and let's see how well your military performs.
And mind you, the stature of the black men in the military is not weak.
Well, this is the whole point. Like, most people don't have this like this warped sense of reality. Because I talk to plenty of white people, they don't care. They're not thinking about this. Right? They're like, yes, if the person's a criminal, condemn them, but saying that all black people are this way, that's the thinking of a child that doesn't know any better. And when you sit down and you espouse these things as an adult, how can you sit down and say that you critically think? And then how can you sit down and say that you believe in God?
Yeah.
Because if God created everybody and we all trace our lineage to Adam, how are you going to go ahead and treat one of God's children this way and expect entry into your house? Somebody raped your kid. You think you're going to go and open your door for them?
But she says this, but Paul says that, what was the man's name? Simon, is that the one who helped Jesus carry the cross?
Yes.
Simon helped carry the Jesus' cross. His son's name was what? Rufus. Rufus. And Paul said in his epistles, when he was writing to people of Corinth or something. Anyways, he wrote, and Rufus, he gave a high respect to Rufus, and then he said, and Rufus' mother, a mother of mine as well. They were black. And he regarded the mother of Rufus, the wife of Simon, as he gave the direct writing saying that was a spiritual guidance for him, a black family. So, he had a great regard for them. That was Paul. Everyone loves Paul and talks about how brilliant he is and how no one ever understands him. But he talks about the importance of those black people in his spiritual life, in guiding him to be the Paul that he was, that everyone loved and revered. There's a lot of disciples that are black. There's a lot of people in the Bible that was black. Moses' wife was black. And when
Aaron and Miriam came up and tried to diss him because he had a mixed race marriage,
God gave
and go
her
after
leprosy.
him for his leadership, Miriam got leprosy.
Yes. Because of that, because of her racism.
And
the Bible
God was
says
like,
this.
I'm not going to cure it right away. You're going to sit down and learn your lesson. And then when it's done, then I'll take it off after a while, because you have to be under the cap this amount of days. So you're going to sit out there till then.
And mind you, I met her as well. I met Lily. So for her, and she came on our show and she talked very kindly of us and whatever. But it's like, for her to go on her show and talk that way about all black people when she knows black people who are doing the complete opposite, but they never talk about these black people.
Yes.
That is completely
That's
disingenuous, because you know the work that we've been doing. I've met you in person. You've come on the show. We've talked to you about the things that we've that we've been involved in doing and exposing, and you come out in your platform. So many of these people do this. I've met so many of these people, talked about all the stuff that we're doing. They meet and know Black people who are doing good things, but instead of talking about the good Black people that are doing good things, all they do is show the nonsense to enrage and provoke people. That's a very female.
Like Robert Kennedy said, going after the lizard part of your brain, like the lower parts of your brain. Instead of using your cerebral cortex, you're going on your emotional aspect and your reflexes rather than doing.
Well, that's what women do because it makes them feel good.
Yes, and so when the women go and cause all their chaos, and the men were like, "Well, we're done."
Yeah, they don't have solutions.
Then you see this happen.
She's not younger than me, she's not skinnier than me, and she's not prettier than me. Then why couldn't it just be me?
Because she's softer than you. She's quieter than you. She doesn't yell at me. She doesn't call me an idiot or tell me to shut up all the time. She listens to me. She's nice to me. She doesn't make me feel like the only thing stopping her from being happy is me.
Bro said he doesn't make me feel like the only thing stopping her from being happy is me. Oh my gosh, that must be misery.
That's everything that the boss babe is not.
Yeah.
Men don't want someone like themselves, otherwise they would become gay. They don't. Right?
I didn't put that together because it would be like literally being with another man.
You're like with a man that
like
has a
in
vagina.
Character. Yeah. Wow. That's gay. That's like being with a transgender.
Why would I want someone like me? I want someone who can compliment me, that can do the things that I can't do. This is what makes it work. Because if I have somebody who's a man that's acting like a man that's trying to compete with me and everything, why do I want that? That's not what I want in my home. I do that outside. In my home, I want order and I want love and respect to be in that home, to be that safe space, so that when I have children, that those children can grow up in that a healthy environment, because I know what the world is like. And I know what the wicked men in the world are like, because women don't. They don't see that, and they walk into it over and over again. Men don't have to experience the things that women do. They don't, because they know the consequences.
But do you know what that demonstrates as well? That they don't have good men around them leading them.
No, they don't.
They're like essentially fatherless and husbandless. Like they don't have, even if they have men, like they're not good, or they're not listening to the men. They're choosing, they're rebellious. They're rebellious women.
Yes.
This is how it's like they're actively choosing to go out like Jezebels and Ahabs instead of just submitting and surrendering to good authority and learning and actually growing and changing to be a better person. It's like, why would you want to be so hateful and angry all the time? Like when you have men in your life that genuinely love you and care about you, they respect you, they help you grow, you're going to be happy regardless. And you're happy. It's not even you're going to be happy all the time, but you're going to see the benefit in the growth and like what you learn from just orbiting that person, from just being in their life. And that makes you a better person mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. You can tell when women don't have good men in their life because they act out the way just because. Like they are spiteful, they have lots of vengeance, they're bitter. They have no peace. You can tell in the way that they operate that they don't have peace, like regardless of their circumstance, whether they have money or not. If they have a good man in their life, it doesn't matter. They're going to have peace.
This man worked at the border patrol that we're going to listen to. He knows what was going on and what a lot of these people that were chasing my daughter down saying this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
He knows that this type of stuff of what we described was going on.
He worked for decades at the border.
Yes. Now listen to what he says. Because they fabricate stuff all the time. I deal with people in the family courts, and they fabricate evidence. They fabricate orders. They fabricate even police reports and things like that. I know a girl that got raped. When they let the rapist off, they gave her some fraudulent documents. And they did all of these types of things to keep people in these situations. And people don't want to, they're like, oh, well, no, we don't acknowledge it. Oh, they're black, blah, 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 this and that. But what happened? The people that were fighting harder than everybody, because no matter what people are doing, you still ain't going to break me, because you know why? I trust God. And it's not me who's keeping me through this, it's God. So as long as I trust God, it doesn't matter what you throw at me, God is going to let me survive. I might not have everything I want, but I'm going to still have that peace inside that you can never take away, because to serve God. Right? Now here we're going to listen to J.J. Carroll.
I state without reservation that the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. The probability that thousands of these UACs are being raped at this very moment is 100%. Chairman Higgins, Ranking Member Correa, Chairman Bishop, Ranking Member Ivey, and the members of the subcommittee, I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the evil of child trafficking caused by the open border policies under President Joe Biden and his administration. I served in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years until I retired as a Deputy Patrol Agent in charge in San Diego sector. I worked under 5 presidential administrations, and only one president secured the border, President Donald Trump. Border Patrol agents went from working and being supported by the greatest border president in American history to the worst, President Joe Biden. My last year in the Border Patrol was Joe Biden's first year in office. On his first day in office, I watched in disbelief as 94 executive orders cascaded down from Washington, D.C., obliterating every immigration policy that had been provided the most secure border in America's history. Border Patrol agents were forced to carry out unconstitutional orders that violated every law in the Immigration Nationality Act. President Biden, through Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, created policy out of thin air, ignored federal immigration law, and facilitated the largest mass invasion into America that the world has ever seen. The United States of America will have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in 4 years to fund the needs of over 50 million illegal aliens that populate our nation. Between 1 in 6 and 1 in 7 residents in America is an illegal alien. America has suffered the greatest demographic shift in modern history. After serving in the United States Border Patrol for 24 years, spending a year researching and writing a best-selling book entitled Invaded, The Intentional Destruction of the American Immigration System, and filming 2 documentaries, I state with complete certainty that Biden, Harris, and Mayorkas intentionally, strategically, and purposely weaponized illegal immigration and used it as a tool to fundamentally transform America. Inside this invasion, the unspoken evil of child trafficking, and more specifically child sex trafficking, has flourished. At the end of this current administration, the number of children trafficked will have grown to over 550,000 unaccompanied alien children known as UACs. This horrific number of children will have been arrested, released into America, and then lost. To put this into context, during President Trump's last year in office, Customs and Border Protection arrested 30,557 UACs who were accounted for and not lost. Conversely, in the first year of Biden's presidency, CBP arrested 147,975 UACs, most of which are unaccompanied for and lost. In 2023, Correctional Hearings Health and Human Services Javier Becerra and Director of Office of Refugee Resettlement Robin Marcos forced to admit that their agency had no contact with over 85,000 UACs. They were lost. What did DHS, HHS, and ORR do to correct this humanitarian disaster? Nothing. In fact, all 3 agencies created further policies and procedures to increase the efficiency of moving UACs from the border to the interior of the United States to unknown and unvetted sponsors. Unaccompanied alien children were being handed off to total strangers. Then they disappeared into the darkness of labor and sex trafficking. In fact, a year later in August of 2024, the Inspector General with oversight over DHS issued a report stating the number lost UACs was not 85,000, it was over 320,000. My business partner, Ryan Matt, and I spent 6 months traveling across America, filming a documentary titled, What is Treason Trafficked? The evil of child sex trafficking is difficult to digest and understand. However, after conducting numerous interviews with officers, agents, and whistleblowers from every alphabet agency and department, it was made clear to us that the federal government knowingly and actively facilitated these criminal acts.
Yeah. And what he was outlining on how they made those children disappear is what they did with my daughter, Keisha. They did the same thing. And what ended up happening? She got raped. It said, like, those kids, 100% chance that they're getting raped. What do you think happens when they put the women there? Right? And you looked at the way that when we did previous podcasts and how they traffic the natives and the indigenous, which includes the Métis and everything else like that. Like, there is a lot of things that people need to start taking account for. And when people go out and do these things and they look at things and they're like thinking, oh, I'm just saying something. No, you're killing people and you're helping the criminals get away. Everybody talks about pattern recognition, but their pattern recognition seems to disappear when it comes to the government committing crimes. What that looks like, it's like you're taking out your frustrations on someone that you can see in front of your face rather than dealing with the problem. That's the source of the problem, because he's fingering the problem. All those illegal immigrants wouldn't have been in there if the government didn't let them in. And everybody who's complaining about the illegal immigrants, oh, no, my country, all these people. Well, who the hell? Oh, you keep voting these people in. You keep allowing them to get away with this, and they see no consequences. Why are they going to stop? And then when you don't have the courage to stand up, you want to destroy the people that do? It doesn't matter what part of the globe, what race the people are, they're still destroying them. Why?
Yeah.
No matter who they are, it's the white, black, whatever. Sure, how they destroy you might be different based on your race, but they're still destroying you. Right? They're just doing it in a manner that's palatable to the people around them. They're just going to assassinate your character, wipe you up financially, go after your family, try to kill you. These are the same things. And with the men, they just want to kill them because certain kinds of men, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, and we had JJ Carroll on our show. So, like, we spoke with him, and yeah, what he outlined there, he fully understands, like, everything what we were talking about. What he outlined there is everything I literally experienced. Like, it's crazy to me that, like my dad said, everyone has pattern recognition for everything except for when the government's doing it. And I guess maybe they're too scared to actually try and go that way because it's easier to attack the minorities or the immigrants or something and accuse them because you can just get rid of that problem, but they'll continue in other ways. The government will continue in other ways, and the people are not actually doing anything about it. And it's like you have people who have lived through these situations. Most people die. Most women and children die from this situation. Like what I went through. You have people who came out on the other end actually outperforming everyone because, like my dad said, like no matter what happens, we have peace and we're still going. Like no one's gonna stop because we have Jesus. On the flip side, we made it through it, and the people complaining would never make it through it. So you have people who understand not only the process of what's going on, but also how to make it through it and fix a lot of the stuff. And you refuse to work with them, which shows actually what your intention is.
We're going to take a short break here. We'll be back on the other side. Yeah, we literally have women committing treason left, right, and center because of their feelings. So we'll be right back.
Hello friends, my name is Keisha and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. And I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Saskatchewan, moved into Alberta, and even crossed into the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems over the last 5 years that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father Dale Richardson, we started the Caris Project. This is an Indigenous, survivor-led movement for humanity dedicated to exposing trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. One of the most powerful tools that we are using is the petitions for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in Canadian and U.S. law, and in treaties that tie us together across provinces, across states, and even across borders. These petitions are precedent-setting. They create a binding record. They demand accountability while representing reconciliation in action. Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working side by side to preserve liberty for all. But we cannot do this alone. We need your help to keep this movement alive, to raise awareness and to build a legacy of justice for Indigenous women, for trafficking survivors, and for families everywhere. Thank you. Please stand with us. Your support makes this work possible. Together we can restore justice, heal families, and defend freedom. And I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. And men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
So please support. We do a lot of work here, and to keep this stuff going. We do everything ourselves to bring out this content. I do a lot of research and all these things, and we help a lot of people in the back end. We work with a lot of families who are trying to get their kids back, people who've been trafficked, people who've had all kinds of situations, and have boots on the ground and doing work, not just sitting here in front of people, just coming in for your hour a day to talk to people, because we're working like crazy to help other people, even though we are getting destroyed ourselves financially, and have people actively going out to protect cartels and criminals who are trafficking children. Because like J.J. Carroll said, the government, U.S. government, is the biggest trafficking organization on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And they're using the border as a way to filter out, bring in what they want, and keep out things that are threats to them.
Their operation of trafficking, yeah.
Yes, because for me, you watched the way I walked in. I told the premier of Saskatchewan, like a governor, walked in and said, "You don't deal with this, you're going to get arrested." This is not an idle threat. I know how to put them in prison and what to do. This is why they starved me of funds, because I would go ahead and do it. Because in Canada, we don't need a district attorney. We can do that ourselves. We just have to pay for it ourselves, but nobody wants to do that. Everyone wants to do this. Oh, no.
But everyone is seeing now the amount of people who do the gun violence and they're repeatedly let out, the rapists that are repeatedly let out. There was a guy in Canada, 300 plus sexual assault reports, and he was repeatedly let out, and then eventually did something so egregious. I mean, they were all egregious. I don't know how it could get any more egregious the first 300 times, but then there was another man who to a 12-year-old girl, and they let him out. It's like the repeat offenders, everyone sees the pattern for the repeat offenders, for the gun violence, the rape, and all this other stuff. But when I was attacked by repeat offenders and convicted pedophiles and repeat felons, and with guns and sexually assaulted and all these other things, the pattern recognition works for everybody except me. Definitely not true. And now look, we're seeing with Charlie all the mistakes they're making in Charlie Kirk's case with, catching one guy, it's the wrong guy, releasing him, catching a different guy, it's the wrong guy, releasing him. Then this guy, he turns out to have some issue, like mental issues of other things. It's like, come on, man.
Yes, and so we're gonna play another little clip here from McRaven here, Admiral McRaven, because he's got some good stuff here. So let's listen.
As Navy SEALs, one of our jobs is to conduct underwater attacks against enemy shipping. We practice this technique extensively during training. The ship attack mission is where a pair of SEAL divers is dropped off outside an enemy harbor and then swims well over 2 miles underwater, using nothing but a depth gauge and a compass to get to the target. During the entire swim, even well below the surface, there is some light that comes through. It is comforting to know that there is open water above you. But as you approach the ship, which is tied to a pier, the light begins to fade. The steel structure of the ship blocks the moonlight. It blocks the surrounding street lamps. It blocks all ambient light. To be successful in your mission, you have to swim under the ship and find the keel, the center line, and the deepest part of the ship. This is your objective. But the keel is also the darkest part of the ship, where you cannot see your hand in front of your face, where the noise from the ship's machinery is deafening, and where it gets to to be easily disoriented, and you can fail. Every SEAL knows that under the keel, at that darkest moment of the mission, is a time when you need to be calm, when you must be calm, when you must be composed, when all your tactical skills, your physical power, and your inner strength must be brought to bear. If you want to change the world, you must be your very best in the darkest moments.
And this is true. I'll give you an analogy. I was driving back from working up north, and I had a guy with me. He was sleeping, and I had just got a new Civic. And so I went across the highway, and it was freshly snowed, and it was that wet stuff. And I started to go into a slide across 3 lanes on the freeway. I should have been dead. The guy wakes up as we're doing like a 180 across 3 lanes, and you can see semi-trucks coming towards us, and he's about to panic. And then he looks at my face, and I'm dead calm. He's like, no expression on my face. And what I did was I turned, got us onto the shoulder, and I pulled it out of gear, and then because we were going in reverse, so I put it in reverse and started to downshift so that we wouldn't lose power. I ended up going off into the ditch, but we were able to pull out because we didn't go far in or flip. But he said, he goes, I was about to freak out until I saw the look on your face, because I was like, you know what? This is bad, but I ain't dying today. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I'm going to live. And I understand what this man is talking about, because I've been in life and death situations. And if I had not stayed perfectly calm, I would be dead.
Yeah.
And there are multiple times in this situation where police were looking to provoke me to kill me, because they would instantly pull out their guns and shoot me, because they know full well about the way people are perceiving black people. They'll be like, oh, just another black person. He was being blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't kid yourself. Like, I've been beaten by police unprovoked. Tried to throw me out in the middle of winter with no jacket in -40, where I would have froze to death. And because I refused, I was going to wait for my jacket. They beat the piss out of me. They took me downstairs, a whole heap of them, because I didn't want to go outside in a jacket, and I wasn't being rude because I knew these guys would have stomped my face in. They beat me anyway. Right?
Is that when you're a teenager?
Yes.
Because you didn't want to go outside without a
Then
jacket.
one time they took me, guys were literally breaking beer bottles over people's head. Me and my buddy were walking away, me and this white guy, and they grabbed us. What? Then they took my jacket off, leaving me on the trunk in -40 weather. Right? And then instead of driving home, they took me to the drunk tank, took me way past my house, took me to the drunk tank so I'd spend the weekend there. Because there you had to go in front of a judge when you were a kid, right? So they just wanted to be ignorant, and then lifted me up till my underwear split. For what reason? Right? I've had police officers say all you niggers do is cause problems and you stink. Okay. Well, I didn't do that, right? So that's the kind of stuff I had to deal with. Right? There are times where I was an idiot and I got what was coming to me, but I never sat down and tried to act like me being stupid was a justification for get away. You know, you do something, you play a stupid game, you're going to win a stupid prize, right? That just happens. That's innate. That's life. But acting like every person is a certain way, that's nonsense. Absolute rubbish. Anyway, let's get back to it. Right? Okay. So yes.
I actually had the same. When Granny and Auntie Astra were screaming in the car, I was just sitting there calmly, just watching everything. Like, well, you know, I obviously wasn't driving. I was a kid in the back, but I was just like, well, it is what it is. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
Because I like if you tense up, it's gonna be worse. We hit the semi.
So
it's not funny, but you
yes, I get it. So we're looking at this in this is a woman talking about what's going on with the Pornhub, which is a lot related. And then nobody wants to talk about the per capita before we go through this of who's buying all those children.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, the government is the number one. Like you said, the government's the number one child traffickers, and the government is mostly white people. Like even
No, but who's buying the children in the
yeah,
United
I was
States?
gonna get that too. The per capita is mostly the white people, and even AOC and all those other people are complaining. Oh, 70% of Congress and government is white men, and statistically, this is true. They're not Jews; they're white American.
Yes.
Anyways,
Let's listen to what they're talking about here.
Not only did ALO actively allow this content to be distributed, but it was systematically deceptive about its presence on its sites, on those hundreds of sites, by telling its users it had robust safety measures in place to protect against the distribution of such material. It did not. ALO told users that CSAM and NSM content flagged by users would be removed. It was not. It told users that if a content partner were uploading CSAM or NSM, they would be banned. They were not. ALO told consumers that any CSAM material that had been removed would be fingerprinted, so it could not be re-uploaded to the company's sites. That content was still re-uploaded. It told users that it kept documentation that all persons represented in its videos were of a legal age. It did not keep such documentation. All of this adds up to a portrait of a company that has had no intention to comply with its own policies, even when called out by credit card companies, journalists, and just a general public outcry. And why? Why were they doing this? Unprecedented profits, yes. But in reading the complaint, it's hard to see anything else than that this company seems to relish spreading this kind of content for its own sake. Through our partnership with the FTC, we have secured significant injunctive terms requiring ALO to immediately cease its debased behavior regarding CSAM and NSM, as well as fines and penalties totaling up to $15 million. We're incredibly grateful for the partnership of the FTC on this case. We could not have done it without them. And I'd now like to turn the time over to Commissioner Holyoke to talk more specifically about the details of the case and the terms of this settlement. She'll be followed by Attorney General Derek Brown. We appreciate the leadership of both Commissioner Holyoke and General Brown on this important matter. After their remarks, we'll open it up to questions from the press. And please note, we have press online as well, as this settlement has national implications.
And while it's good for fines, this will not get settled until there's jail time.
yeah,
Because these guys kind of people, they can just keep printing money.
yeah,
It doesn't matter. They need to be hauled away. They need to be in prison. And what she's talking about is like the tip of the iceberg.
yeah,
Why they get a lot of women to do this. Women don't understand the way men think. They don't
No, they
understand the way men operate with each other. They do not. And when they figure it out, it's too late. This is why it's not just the physical strength that they can traffic them, it is the way that they think. We have a mindset that we are designed to protect. A man's natural reaction when he's traumatized is to lash out, right? That's so that if somebody is trying to kill you, your reaction is going to be to fight them to protect yourself and to protect your family. That's the way we are wired. Women are going to want to move away. When a woman is coming on the attack, that's not because she's not a victim. She is not.
no,
Women who are victimized want to move away from the trauma so that they can heal. If you see a woman going on an offensive, she's not a victim.
no,
100% not. I've dealt with victims for a very long time,
yeah.
even before this, and I've never seen that.
Because women who are victims, they turn in on themselves, and they can't. They want to be away from the stress of whatever the situation was, so that they can have some semblance of peace while they deconstruct. Like there's no way you're not gonna chase down the person that you're claiming to be your abuser. A victim does not do that.
No, they don't.
That's you could look at any type of like police or psychology or whatever kind of study you want to find. You will not see that women actually do that. They don't have it in them. They're too terrified for one, and they're trying to put themselves back together. So no, why think of it this way: if somebody raped you or if somebody brutally beat you, why would you try to keep in contact with them? Why would you keep hunting them down? If someone abused you and you felt in danger for your life, why would you keep trying to contact them?
They're not. That's
the
the whole point. When people do that, they're not. They're just
like,
doing it for malicious reasons.
That's the thing. I don't stay in contact with anybody who I don't talk to anymore. But for some reason, every single person comes after us consistently. Yeah, makes new accounts to come after us and everything.
Yeah. So let's listen to General Flynn. We're gonna close it.
Actually, and I will say, the day that Charlie Kirk got shot, loads of the people who were involved in trafficking me came and started following me and trying to request me friend on my social media under new accounts. I had to block them. I'm like, okay, how convenient. And the same time that the government also said, by the way, human trafficking is not a good reason for victim services. That was an hour or so before Charlie got shot.
Human trafficking, torture, and all these other crimes. But yeah, let's listen to what Flynn has to say as we running up on time here, and we'll then discuss feuds after.
It's almost a decade later, and I think the bigger sort of strategic issue, Jan, is not so much the conversation and rehashing the conversation and what it meant or what I did. It's actually, how does the government weaponize itself against the American people? And in this case, they made a conscious decision to weaponize themselves not only against, General Mike Flynn, but also the incoming National Security Advisor, which is a monumental role in our government, huge role, huge responsibilities. And they made a conscious decision to weaponize components of the government against the President of the United States himself. In this case, the incoming president at the time was Donald J. Trump. And from that moment in the latter part of 2016 and 2017, where we really didn't know. I mean, there was, and I would say I'm as naive as the next person. I mean, I know a lot more now today, but I was naive to think that the FBI was this weaponized, that the CIA was this weaponized against a person who had been working with them, had run one of the largest intelligence agencies in the world. But the discovery for all Americans and for anybody that listens to this show, this interview, is that the weaponization of the United States government against its own citizenry is very real. It happens on a daily basis, and it doesn't just happen to high-profile political figures. It happens to every single day Americans, where somebody does something that in this case, the FBI or the Department of Justice doesn't like, and what they do is they put the full weight of their authorities against any American who can't financially afford it, can't emotionally sustain it, and really doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to even understand what is happening. And the next thing that happens is they find themselves in a place where they have to plead guilty to something that they know they didn't do, because otherwise they're going to be completely crushed and their families are going to be destroyed, which in many cases those things already happen. And so that's the weaponization of just the Justice Department, the weaponization of the intelligence community. And when I say that we say the intelligence community like it's some esoteric thing, it's the Central Intelligence Agency, it's the National Security Agency, it's the Defense Intelligence Agency, it's elements within our government. It's the Department of State has its own intelligence component. Department of Homeland Security has its own intelligence component. And the White House actually is weaponized as well. The White House can weaponize itself against an American citizen that they don't like. Particularly the White House will go against people politically for a political advantage. And so I became the fulcrum of what essentially is a color revolution that's still ongoing in the United States of America.
This man understands what's going on. And the engineering report that people were telling people not to read, this man read it himself. My daughter placed it in his hands. And when he read it, he said that this is a grave national security concern. Because what I addressed was a critical weakness in the infrastructure of the United States that was deliberately introduced to spread biological weapons. And it's done here in Canada and originated with the CDC. I don't care what anybody says about this, that, and the other, smear my character. The fact of the matter is the engineering report, the numbers don't lie. The science behind it and the way that engineering works, it does not lie. And every person who's examined it that has that wherewithal to understand it, they're like, you are 100% right.
Yeah.
Right? So everything else is a distant second.
Yeah.
Every single person, when you sit down and understand what you're doing, every single person that tried to bury this for whatever reason, you are a traitor.
Yeah.
You have committed treason. You have protected Fauci, the people that tried to kill Trump, all of them, because they wouldn't have been in this position. They needed COVID for the 2020 election to be stolen. Engineering controls is the first step. It was dropped at the gate in Canada in July 3rd, 2020. Criminal complaints were already laid.
But you know what's crazy? They used hate crimes to deter people away from it. Oh, Keisha's a Mexican, a dirty Mexican. Oh, she's an illegal. Oh, Dale is a black DEI N-word. Don't look at his report because it doesn't make any sense and blah blah blah. So they were getting people to attack us, then calling us the N-word, threatening to kill us, even threatening to rape me, all sorts of stuff. We have like emails and messages from this, and getting people to actually come after us, and then using racial baiting to prevent people from looking at this stuff.
The worst part about it is they sent women.
That's what I was just going to say,
Men
too.
could
That was
not have
mostly
done
women.
this because men would see the consequences, the circumstances, they would not do it. But they used the women to commit treason and suppress treason based on their feelings because they cannot see it in real time. I've talked to a lot of women that are extremely intelligent, and they do not see it in real time when I'm talking about what's laid out between other men. Men will get this and pick it up. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. You need to go with facts over feeling.
Yeah.
Right? And so forth. No, we can pull that up. Look on my X or whatever. We pulled it up before, but we're running up on time. At the end of the day, the people who have put women over other men of other races and even other white men, you're cooking yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at them instead of having the best to solve problems, you put in a bunch of DEI people who want to take you out and will do anything to do that. And they are the ones largely responsible for destroying the nation because they don't see the things that men do. Not at the same time. Not when it comes to life and death situations. You watch this situation and it's very different. Treason was a crime, like I said, committed by men between other men since the dawn of humanity. Right? And how you think women are going to figure out how men interact with each other? No, they're not.
This is why women need to get consequences. This is why I said at the very beginning, unless a man shows you through experience, you're not going to know these things. You're like, unless they show you, like, unless they create circumstances around you, put you in the situation, and you actually submit to that, surrender to it, and actually try to learn and grow and understand, you're never going to make sense of any of it. And even still, unless you have the guidance, you're like continuously, you're gonna cook yourself.
Yeah, anyway, we're up on here on time, so I'm going to close here with a prayer, and I will leave you with the rest of Admiral McRaven to close it out. All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day, and open our hearts and minds to your will, and help us that we would come and turn towards you. And Lord, that the men that we would come and humble ourselves before God and ask for your guidance and your mercy, and to lead us and to live within us, that we could do what is right and pleasing in your sight. And Lord, to revive the love of God in the hearts of men that have waxed cold, and that we could work with the women to rebuild our families, our church, our community, our nation, to stop this these devil worshippers that are trying to wipe us out, wipe us off the face of the earth, is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. As in the first show, I'm going to reserve my speech and keep my mouth shut. I think my dad said enough. Like a wise man once said, sometimes you say too much and you need to know when to be quiet. So I will take that this time again. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend.
As Navy SEALs, one of our jobs is to conduct underwater attacks against enemy shipping. We practice this technique extensively during training. The ship attack mission is where a pair of SEAL divers is dropped off outside an enemy harbor and then swims well over 2 miles underwater, using nothing but a depth gauge and a compass to get to the target. During the entire swim, even well below the surface, there is some light that comes through. It is comforting to know that there is open water above you. But as you approach the ship, which is tied to a pier, the light begins to fade. The steel structure of the ship blocks the moonlight. It blocks the surrounding street lamps. It blocks all ambient light. To be successful in your mission, you have to swim under the ship and find the keel, the center line, and the deepest part of the ship. This is your objective. But the keel is also the darkest part of the ship, where you cannot see your hand in front of your face, where the noise from the ship's machinery is deafening, and where it gets to be easily disoriented, and you can fail. Every SEAL knows that under the keel, at that darkest moment of the mission, is a time when you need to be calm, when you must be calm, when you must be composed, when all your tactical skills, your physical power, and your inner strength must be brought to bear. If you want to change the world, you must be your very best in the darkest moments. The 9th week of training is referred to as Hell Week. It is 6 days of no sleep, constant physical and mental harassment, and one special day at the Mud Flats. The Mud Flats are an area between San Diego and Tijuana where the water runs off and creates the Tijuana Sloughs, a swampy patch of terrain where the mud will engulf you. It is on Wednesday of Hell Week that you paddle down to the Mud Flats and spend the next 15 hours trying to survive this freezing cold, the howling wind, and the incessant pressure to quit from the instructors. As the sun began to set that Wednesday evening, my training class, having committed some egregious infraction of the rules, was ordered into the mud. The mud consumed each man till there was nothing visible but our heads. The instructors told us we could leave the mud if only 5 men would quit. Only 5 men, just 5 men, and we could get out of the oppressive cold. Looking around the mud flat, it was apparent that some students were about to give up. It was still over 8 hours till the sun came up. 8 more hours of bone-chilling cold. The chattering teeth and the shivering moans of the trainees were so loud, it was hard to hear anything. And then one voice began to echo through the night. One voice raised in song. The song was terribly out of tune, but sung with great enthusiasm. One voice became 2, and 2 became 3, and before long, everyone in the class was singing. The instructors threatened us with more time in the mud if we kept up the singing, but the singing persisted. And somehow the mud seemed a little warmer, and the wind a little tamer, and the dawn not so far away. If I have learned anything in my time traveling the world, it is the power of hope. The power of one person, a Washington, a Lincoln, King, Mandela, and even a young girl from Pakistan, Malala. One person can change the world by giving people hope. So if you want to change the world, start singing when you're up to your neck in mud. Finally, in SEAL training, there's a bell. A brass bell that hangs in the center of the compound for all the students to see. All you have to do to quit All you have to do to quit is ring the bell. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to wake up at 5 o'clock. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to be in the freezing cold swims. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to do the runs, the obstacle course, the PT, and you no longer have to endure the hardships of training. All you have to do is ring the bell to get out. If you want to change the world, don't ever, ever ring the bell. It will not be easy. Start each day with a task completed. Find someone to help you through life. Respect everyone. Know that life is not fair and that you will fail often. But if you take some risks, step up when the times are the toughest, face down the bullies, lift up the downtrodden, and never, ever give up, if you do these things, the next generation and the generations that follow will live in a world far better than the one we have today. And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better. Thank you very much.